Welcome back. I was here yesterday talking about the circle of fourths and the circle of fifths. I got inspired watching Rick Beato discussing this topic, and I thought that I would recap on it. And since somebody mentioned they got a lot from me yesterday, I thought I would go a little further with it. So before I do that, hold on a second. Okay. So yesterday we talked about the functioning of the chords within your key center. So there's 7 notes in a key center, and this is Western music we're talking about, Western European music. So each one of those notes, each key center, so if you imagine this, you have on the piano, you have your white keys and your black keys, right? So you have within each key center, if you count, there's actually 12 notes going in an octave. So here's C, here's C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. Okay, so I'm gonna count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then it starts over again. So there's actually 12 chromatic notes. And this is the thing I wanted to talk about with music, how everything's relative and connected to something else. It's not just a bunch of information thrown and jumbled together, and therefore we're supposed to memorize all this stuff and you have a head full of all this information. It's that, but it's not, it's not born of that. It's all that from being connected to another thing, being connected to another thing. So, I like to make, little visuals that actually help to inspire and possibly realize that music is a lot deeper and a lot more mysterious and sophisticated than we could even wrap our head around. So a lot of times when you have these things that are really sophisticated and there's always usually basic fundamental things that make it work. And just like how science is, how concepts in math are, it doesn't just start with geometry. It starts with, basic numbers and arithmetic, and then you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and they all interconnect. So with music, you have these 12 notes, right? These 12 notes make up all of music, right? But then you start organizing them within these 12 notes. You now have 12 key centers or keys, right? So each one of these notes represents a key center, and each one of these key centers houses 7 notes, and that's the system it works off of. Okay, so in a diatonic system, meaning the regular normal system as we know of music in our culture, it's made up of 7 notes. And so within this 12 note infinite music thing that it's broken down in systems. So in these 12 notes, you now have 12 keys. And in the 12 keys, you have 7 notes in each one of these key centers. So when you're in the key of C has its 7 notes. It doesn't have any sharps or flats, meaning it doesn't have anything altered. Those symbols in music, when one looks like a tic-tac-toe and one looks like a sort of like lopsided B, that's flat, and the tic-tac-toe is a sharp. Sharp meaning it's raised, it goes up. Flat meaning it goes down. There's musical terms for this: augment, meaning up, and diminish meaning down, right? So, so in the key of C, most things when they're examples when they're shown, a lot of times they're usually put in the key of C, because the key of C is like the like the meridian point, the place where where all things start. In fact, on the wheel of the circle of fifths, which goes which goes clockwise, and the circle of fourths, which goes counterclockwise, they all start with C. So because there's no sharps or flats in the key of C. So that being said, if you have 7 notes in this key center, in the key of C, you also have 7 chords. Each one of these notes has a chord built off of it. And I talked about this yesterday. A good way to, I guess, if you're going to do any kind of memorization, then now would be the time. So if you count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C again is the 8th, or octave, like octopus, like octagon. See, and all these things have different terminologies that relate to either art or things in science and stuff like that, or math, right? So each one of these notes has a chord built up. A good way to memorize the fundamentals or importance of how these things work are most songs and most diatonic, melodic styles of music, and any style, by the way, revolve around your 3 chords mostly, which are your 1 chord, which in this case would be C. It's a major chord, and then meaning it's happy. We'll get why the major and minor sound the way they do. But so you're in this key, in this example, C is your 1 chord, right? And then you count up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's F is your 4 chord. F is your 4 chord. That's another major chord. And then you count up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. G is your 5 chord. So in the key of C, your 1 chord is C, your 4 chord is F, your 5 chord is G. Those 3 chords make up most of music in any style, from pop music to country to jazz. Even jazz gets a little more sophisticated, but it's based around those functioning chords. And so you might ask, and we talked about this yesterday, I asked what about the other chords? Okay, so the other chords in your key are minor chords, and they function in ways to support those 3 chords, your 1 chord, your 4 chord, and your 5 chord. So they're usually looked as substitutions or something of the like, So for instance, my C chord, my 1 chord, or we call it home, its substitution chord could be your 6 minor chord, which would be A minor. So if you count up to C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, C, D, E, F, G, A minor, right? Because your 1, 4, and 5 are major, all the rest of them are minor. So that's a substitution chord for the key of C. It's also, your 6 minor is also your relative minor. And so here's where music relates and things are relative. You have your good side, right? And you got your bad side, for light of a better phrase to create a visual here. So your A minor is relative to your C major. Your 1 major, C, is relative to your 6 minor, A minor, right? So if we're at our 4 chord, F, our 4 chord, its substitution chord is your 4 chord is relative to your 2 chord, your 2 minor, right? And the reason why is because the notes in my 4 chord, F, A, and C are half of my 2 chord. My notes in my 2 chord are D, F, and A. That's a D minor chord. So you have already more than half of your 4 chords. So that's one of the reasons why these things are substituted for chords. And why you substitute chords is so it's like anything else, how many variations can you use of 1, 4, 5? You can use a bunch of them in different ways, but you can use even more when you use substituted chords for those. Now you have even more to go from. And so I gave an example, a little bit of Amazing Grace yesterday. I'm not going to play it again because I want to move on, but I'll do a little playing later. Again, this is your 7-note theory. Now, by the way, another thing that's relative, and this is the great grand design of music. I had a discussion with my father, who's a musician, years ago, and I don't know if we agreed on this, but I believe that music theory is just it's not something that actually evolved as much as I think it's something we discover. I think it's already there. I can't prove that, but it's sure mysterious enough to pose that type of question or idea, meaning that most people, most of the ways that we view music theory is sort of an evolution. The evolution of music theory today in contemporary music, because of jazz and different types of world music has evolved in this way, and so we have different names for things and in different sort of like structures in how we make theory out of what it is we're doing now. Now that's where I tend to believe that it's already there and we're just discovering this, rather than it's just being evolved from man. So, but that's what I think. I also think most music comes from noise. That's a hard sell too, meaning that, if you imagine a violin is, these strings, when you got a bow, it's like a horsehair, or I don't know what they make it out of now, and you rosin up the bow and you pull it across the strings. And if you don't know what you're doing, that sounds like a cat in heat. It's just awful. And it's just like crazy noise. But out of that sort of, and this is where it's like kind of like science, out of the grinding of the elements and stuff like that through time, we've pulled out this sonorous tone out of the violin. And the same goes for most instruments. You take wind instruments, are the sort of compressing of the lips and the embouchure of the mouth, with a mouthpiece, for trumpet players or trombonists. It's I'm sure the first time somebody tried to make noise out of something like this, it was just awful, or if when a child starts an instrument for the first time, or any of us, it doesn't sound pleasant right away. So, but that's where we get to join in the festiveness of the beauty of music, and watch the development, and in time, we make this great art, something for ourselves, and we make it a form of expression. So back to the music theory. So you have these 7 notes, right? We've talked about your 1 chord, your 4 chord, and your 5 chord. In this case, it's C, F, and G, right? We've talked about substitution chords for these chords. Your C chord has a substitution chord, is A minor, okay? That's one substitution chord. your 4 chord, F, as a substitution chord of your 2 minor, D minor, right? And your 5 chord, substitution chord, could be E minor, right? It could also be your 7 chord, which is a diminished chord, right? But that's more of a passing chord. But it is, in fact, some level of a substitution chord, okay? So now, one of the things I pulled out of to work on today is I was looking at a Beethoven sonata. This was to show that even in classical music, it still follows this basic concept of 1, 4, 5 and the interchanging movements of 1, 4, 5. Your 1 chord, your 4 chord, your 5 chord. So now, one of the things I want to talk about is, more importantly, I think, than just learning about that you have these 3 chords, right? In any key centers. Every key center works the same way. So you'll have, in the key of G, has 1 sharp, F sharp. So in the key of G, G is 1. Your C chord, G, A, B, C, is your 4 chord. D is your 5 chord, so on and so forth. So whenever you switch to another key, it follows that same idea, 1, 4, 5, with a new key center. Now, what I think's important to say is, even more than just learning the idea of 1, 4, 5 and how these things have substitution chords, is really understanding and getting your ear sort of used to hearing intervals, which is, an interval is the distance between one note to another. So from C to D, that's an interval of a major second, right? So 1, 2, right? A minor second would be D flat, right? Okay, so that's that interval, that jump, that's what that is. And so the reason why I'm saying that this is super important is, first of all, this is how you're going to develop your ear, and this is how you're going to hear the different intervals within your key center. What a 4th sounds like, right? From C to G, what a 5th sounds like, right? What a 3rd sounds like, major 3rd, right? What a minor 3rd sounds like, right? What a 6th sounds like. My body lies over the ocean, right? What a flat 6 sounds like, right? What a 4th sounds like. What a raised 4th or sharp 4 sounds like, right? What a 7th sounds like, major 7th. What a flatted 7th or dominant 7th sounds like. And so on and so forth. And this is the real work part of music. It's also a lot of fun when you start developing your ear to where you can hear these intervals just like that. It really becomes, it's like a person cracking a code. You really feel like you're part of some, special committee or club called musician, So going on that, I want to talk about, since we were talking about 1, 4, 5, I want to talk about really, which is the most important of all the intervals, is the distance between, in relationship between your 1 and your 5. It is the most important interval by far, because really everything functions off of that. And what I mean by that, if I play my 1 chord C, and then I play my 5 chord G, which in this case we'll say it's G7, because the way that it's designed, it has a flatted 7th built on it diatonically in relationship to the key center. And the reason why that's important and the relationship between these 2 chords is because what happens when you play your 5 chord, your dominant chord, is it has tension in there between the intervals of its third in the chord, and its 7th. And these 2 intervals move in contrary direction to resolve to the 1 chord. It wants to resolve. This note wants to resolve to this note, and this note wants to resolve down, and they resolve like that. And that's what you're hearing. The ear's hearing that. Because there's that tension. It doesn't want to just end here. It wants to relieve here. Right? 5, 1, 5, 1. Right? And so also this is the part of where you'll have the real strength in writing. If you have good music that's being written or good songs that you like, you're hearing those intervals happen. When you're listening to an orchestral piece, something melodic, almost all the time when somebody's writing a timpani part, you know, the timpani drum, boom, boom, that's really usually written with your tonic and your dominant. Boom, 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 right? So it's usually those things. And the reason why that is so important, other than what I'm explaining, is because now, because you understand this, and because it's in use, you can shift into new keys, new key centers by using this, right? I just did it there. 5, 1. And that's 5, 1, 5, 1, right? The relationship to 5, 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 1, right? Now, one of the reasons why I am talking about this too, other than it's really super important, is I'm looking at this Beethoven piece, okay? So, a month or 2 ago when I was visiting my parents, I went online and I played this piece. Of course, it was at 3 in the morning, so I was just sight reading. But I thought maybe we'd go through a little of this, okay? And I would try to make sense out of relationships between what we're talking about and showing you that within the music, and if you can listen, you can hear the intervals happening as I discuss it, okay? So one more thing. So remember how I said, you know, in the key of C, you have your 6 minor? Okay. So again, your relationship to 5, 1 also can happen in minor. So if I'm in A minor, let's say that's my new 1 minor. So my 5 would be A, B, C, D, E. So, right? So A minor, E7, A minor, E7, A minor. If I'm in C minor now, my 5 is G, G7. And you can hear that real sort of classical cadence, 5-1 cadence, right? So instead of making your 1 chord a major, just make it a minor. Right? Okay? The reason why I'm talking about that as well is, other than it's super important, is because we're going to be going through some Beethoven, and he has a lot of that happening in minor. So this piece is his first sonata. Yeah, I believe it's, Opus 2, number 1. And it's an F minor, okay? Now, how do I know it's an F minor? Well, there's 4 flats: B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. Now, if it's minor, then it has a relative major. So if this is F minor, it's got to be my 6th of some key. So if I go up, F minor, G, A flat, okay? So at A flat major is the relative major of F minor, and vice versa. So A flat major is the relative major to F minor. F minor is the relative minor to F major. F minor is relative minor to A flat major. So on and so on. Okay? So this piece starts in F minor. Okay? I know that because I'm looking at the music, and the first notes are C, F, A flat, C, F. It's outlining an F minor chord. Okay, so that first opening, it's an F minor, so we're going to look at that as our 1, okay? So that's 1, and then it goes, here's your 5 chord. That's a C7, right? So you have, right? That's what's happening. C7, 1, to your 5. And now what's interesting is now it shifts into, like I was saying, your relationship between a tonic and a dominant, or a interval of a 1 to a 5. Now we had C7. Now this is, in the music, it's now C minor. Okay? So it just shifted in C minor. Right? Now it's playing an F minor chord. And now it's going to the circle of fifths. So what happened there was, that's F minor to B flat. To D flat is diminished. We're in the key of A. We're back in A flat now, again, A flat major on our 5 chord, which is E flat. So what happened there was, if we go back, I'll spell out the chords. So we did a little bit of going through the circle of fifths or fourths, however you want to look at it. It went to that C minor. That's an F minor, to B flat, to E flat, to A flat, to D flat, to E flat, to D flat. See? And then we're at E flat. E flat dominance, our 5 chord. That's A flat, right? A flat, so it's 5 to 1. And here's where it gets a little tricky, okay? You know, it goes. There's A flat. There's E flat. There's A flat. Okay. So what's happening here is it just keeps functioning from here's E flat again. Now it's E flat, A flat, to E flat, to A flat, to E flat, A flat, back to A flat. I mean, it just keeps going back. It just keeps functioning between those intervals, 1 5, 1 5, 1 5. Now, the reason why there's so much going on is because, you know, Beethoven has used variations of those chords and substituted the way that the chord's being played. So in other words, the E flat, instead of it having the E flat in the bass, it has a G in the bass. And we talked about that yesterday. We talked about the slash chords, right? Call that a first inversion E flat with your root note, or the G in the bass, in this case the E flat chord, right? So here's where you see that. It's like, here's A flat, to E flat, that's with G in the bass, to A flat, right? Here, that's going to the key of E flat now. That's where it's interesting. So it goes, let's go back to that. A flat. Now this is a B flat chord. B flat. That's a 5 chord of the key of E flat now. So now it's going 5 1 in E flat. Now we're back. Now this is E flat dominant. Now this is becoming our 5 chord of A flat. Back in A flat. We're back in A flat. Still an A flat. A flat, E flat. There's a diminished chord. I'll explain more of that. It's like, there's a substitute. You can look at that as a B flat or a B flat dominant, like an A flat. So let's see. To E flat 5 1. Hear it? Okay, and then we're back in A flat major, right? We never really left. Now it goes to another section. Now it starts on A flat again. Remember the whole piece started on F minor, which is your relative minor of A flat major. So this section is starting that same run, but except it's starting in A flat major. Right? Remember that run? Okay. 5, that's an E flat chord. Now, that's still E flat, and then now that's a new dominant chord, but it's actually like your 6th dominant, which is going, it's a G flat dominant, which is stepping down, sidestepping, we call it, down to F, right? F7, which is your 5 chord of the key of B flat minor. That's a very minor thing, right? That's an F7. That's B flat minor, your 1 chord. 5 1. B flat. F7. B flat. Okay, now this is a new chord shifting down, sidestepping down to the key. Now we're in the key of, this is a G, this is a G7 chord, so we're in the key of C minor, right? Let me turn the page. So you have, that's your 5 to your 1, C minor. New key. Now we're in the key of B flat again, right? So it just keeps moving between 5 1, 5 1, right? Let's see how far we can take this. Now it's E flat, it's A flat, right? 5 1 in the key of A flat. Now he does this little trippy little kind of circle fourths thing again. C7, F minor, B flat. That's diminished, but we're going to look at that as a new 5 chord, a G7 to the key of C major. Now it's minor. We're in the key of F minor now. 5 1 F minor. 2 1 5 1 5 Now, how did he get there? So he was on this thing. Remember, we were in F minor, so you're on this 5 chord, which is C, and then he's going to do there's a little dissonant thing. Now, what this is to me, it's like a 5 chord C with a D flat. So if you look at it like jazz, D flat with C in the bass, it's a dissonant thing. It's like, right? That's the way I look at it. But I look at it still as a 5 chord. Okay, now that's a B flat. And then we're back to C7 again, which is the key of F minor. B flat major, a B flat dominant. B flat, right? Except he doesn't go to B. He doesn't go to E flat. He goes to C7. He jumps right in. So he looks at this dominant chord as a 4 chord of F minor, and then he's at your C7. And you're back to your theme. So here's how it sounds in sequence: C7. B flat, C7, F minor, B flat major, C7, back to the theme, C7, F minor, F minor, right? That's all F minor. It's C7, C to F, C to F, 5 to 1, 5 to 1. And now it starts back to that theme again in the left hand, except we're staying in F minor. Okay, so what's happening there? Same kind of thing. So it comes in with the theme. So F minor. Here's that, that 5 chord with the flat 6 on top of that dissonant thing. Right? What is that? Oh, there you go. That's like F7 to B flat. And then G7 to C. So basically it sounds like this. So it's F minor. B flat, G7, now we're at C7 again. So we're in the key of F minor. See how it just moved around? F minor, C7, flat 6 chord, which is a D flat, but it sidesteps down to C, which is your dominant. Flat 6, right? And there's this can be looked at as a C7 too. F minor with the bass to F minor to C7 to F minor to C to yeah to C7 to F minor to B flat minor to F minor. F minor, B flat minor, which is your fourth chord, to F minor, to F minor, back to F minor, right? C7 to F minor. C7 to F dominant. And F dominant now is a 5 chord of the key of B flat to B flat to E flat to E flat to A flat to A flat to down to C7 to F minor to C7. So basically, he went through the circle of fifths there. At the very end, he went, let's see if I can call it out. So, right here. This is now a C7, which is going to F dominant now to B flat. To B flat, to E flat, to A flat, and then to F minor. Let's see. Actually, this is, yeah, it's like a B flat, but we're going to look at it as a 2 chord. So it's a G minor 7 flat 5 to C to 2 5 1 to 1. So 2 5 1 flat 6 4 minor 5 dominant. Yeah, so yeah, now if I was to go back, let's just see. And this is how these guys did this anyway. Most of this stuff was improvised in the beginning. So, if I was to read this in like an improvised way, I might do it like that. I might say it starts, So I can make my own version of this by looking at the tonic dominant relationship. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so that's that dominant tonic relationship. All right, so that's Beethoven. So it just goes to show you that even in music like that, it's when you break it down, it's just relationships most of the time between your tonic and dominant, and different variations and substitutions of those of branching out of tonic dominant. You know, I mean that's why you can make your own piece out of something like that. Maybe make it different styles. It's the same thing if you made this blue instead of classical. So talk about the use of melodic minor, natural minor, all that stuff, and how those scales can be used in expressive ways, and they're not used enough. They use them in jazz, but to use them in pop music, you know, I like to use a lot of this stuff for basically, you know, contemporary music, pop music, and stuff like that. Make it a little more palatable to my ear. Anyways, thank you very much, and subscribe, all that stuff below. I need people, you know, pass it along. Thank you. Bye-bye.